כן, אני רציתי, I want to say something very important. You see, Baruch Hashem, we have 5 children. And from these 5 children, Baruch Hashem, I have 22 grandchildren.
Wow.
And 5 great-grandchildren.
Wow.
Now the point is, all the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren are descendants of survivors of the Holocaust.
Wow.
Because my children, the boys and the girls, married with families who had very bad experience in the Holocaust.
Wow.
For example, the grandmother of one of my son-in-laws, she is still living, 92. She worked together in Auschwitz with Mengele.
Wow.
With Mengele. And she published a booklet about their experience, her experience. I think, well, officially, first of all, they published it in Hebrew, then in Portuguese, because the family was some years in Brasilia. And I think they are working on an English translation. And the grandfather of one of my son-in-laws, he had a very bad experience. He was imprisoned in all kinds of concentration camps from 39 to the very end, including Auschwitz and what was even worse, Mauthausen in Austria. He also survived and passed away in the year of 90 years old or something like this. So what I am talking, and that's amazing from the point of view of my background, all the grandchildren and great-grandchildren of mine are survivors, are descendants of survivors of the Holocaust.
That is just unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's no, but it shows.
It's all min hashamayim.
It shows that that in spite of that, the Jewish people, because of their faith, do accept strangers under all circumstances, provided that the strangers are serious. That means they don't hesitate, even somebody who is coming from Germany, you see, to accept him, and finally he becomes a part of the Jewish people.
And can I just ask, Rab, when your children, when they got married and the families, well, they obviously got to know that their father is a descendant of a German army officer.
Yeah, they know everything. Because
how was their feeling? How did they react?
They knew from the very beginning. To see, because there were so many interviews with me and films also and television, so everybody who is living in Israel, he knows whom I am, and everybody knew. And though they had their experiences, there was never any hint concerning my background.
That's amazing.
Never, from all parts. You see, I have 5, 4 are married, and these 4 have very, very bad experience with the Holocaust. But concerning myself,
you were very warmly accepted into all the families.
Yes, amazing, much amazing. But that speaks.
It speaks volumes.
That speaks for the Jewish people, for the Jewish people that there is no racism or something like that. There might be certain people, but generally speaking, that is very strange to the Jewish spirit.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I think from this personal experience.
And Rav, can I ask, in your journey, have you ever had any negativity from when people hear your background and your father was in the German army and maybe associated with the SS? You've never had any negativity or any negative?
No, on the contrary. When I became accepted, for example, in Yeshivat Merkaz Harav, Rav Tzvi Yehuda told me, listen, you will not only learn with us, you will live here and eat with us.
Wow.
I remember that sentence at the very, very beginning, because when I came before my marriage, I didn't have a frame. And he said, you will live with us and eat with us, not only learn with us. Well, of course, as I told you, when I was candidate for the rabbinate at the Technion, there were discussions, but finally they decided positively. And then when before I began the course of officer in the army, there were all kinds of rumors also, from a point of view of not from a point of religious, from a point of view, but from a point of view of security. How can you accept somebody from Germany and we don't know exactly about his background to be an officer in the Israeli army? That has to be checked before we do it. I know about that. But then Aluf, Rav Gad Davon, Aluf, he said, what are you talking about? You have to accept him for that course. Aber חוץ מזה, זאת אומרת,
in spite of it, even more so, even more.
Except these two events,
these exceptions.
I don't really remember any negative approach or behavior. And I'm living here in Israel since almost 50 years.
Half a century.
Since 1970, I made Aliyah on the Independence Day by purpose.
Wow. In 1970?
In 1970. Yom HaAtzmaut, Tashal, 1970.
But I think
by purpose, of course. As a symbol, it's a symbol, you know, on the Independence Day. So 50 years, so most of my life I'm living here, and there have never been any problems.
Wow.
No. On the contrary.
On the contrary, Rav, you are such an inspiration.
Okay.
You are unique, I think, in this world, and
I wanted to tell you that story. That's amazing.
I think that is the most incredible. Not an irony of history, but that is it speaks volumes. It speaks.
It is a positive expression of the behavior of Judaism, of Jewish people towards the stranger. That's a proof.
But you know, even more so, it's like a defeat of what the Nazis tried to do. Here you seeing Jewish Kinderlach in future generations that are steeped in Judaism, And it's just amazing that on both sides, one was from a side that were perpetrators and one was a side that were saved.
Okay.
It's just the most amazing
But
combination.
I think those Jews who know Jewish history, Jewish culture, Jewish thought, they have a good reason to behave like this, because, you know, important Chazal, important rabbis were Gerim.
Sure.
According to the history, even Rabbi Akiva, Shmaya, Avtalion, Onkelos, Ager, and so on.
David HaMelech, his great-grandmother was...
They are part of the frame, you see.
Ruth.
Yeah, sure.
Ruth
HaMoaviyah,
David HaMelech, and the future Mashiach will come from the house from Ruth.
I think that's the base, and that's the reason for this approach, for this positive approach. Yeah. Okay.
Chodesh Tov.
Nice to meet you. Chodesh Tov.
It's been the most incredible experience.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I will give you my book, in